We are on the cusp of a major social change. Do you feel it? Even if you don't, make no mistake, change is coming, and it is going to be unforgettable. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah Hart, and here on Prime Spark, where we work with and on behalf of women over 55, I want to help you find that spark that will ignite your way forward, reflect your gifts to the world, and illuminate your path through this next stage of life. Through these podcast conversations, I hope to inspire you to see how you can make a significant contribution to some of the gnarly problems that are facing us right now. Join me, and together let's discover our Prime Spark. Hi, and welcome to Prime Spark. I'm Sarah Hart, and I'm so happy you're here. Prime Spark is designed for women over 50, or close, with a goal to help us all live our happiest, most successful lives, now and in the future. The mission of Prime Spark is to change the way our society sees and treats older women. That's a big mission, which only means we all need to be involved and we need to get going now. And today I have the pleasure of talking with Bobbie Carlton, a woman whose work I greatly admire. Bobbie Carlton is the founder of Innovation Women, a mission-driven company through which she has supported 4,000 plus women speakers in their quest for visibility. She is widely known as an entertaining, tell it like it is speaker who speaks extensively and passionately about public speaking and how it can be the driving force behind career growth and business success. Bobbie has inspired thousands of technical, entrepreneurial, and executive women to take control of their own speaking careers and has worked with event managers around the world to deliver diverse and inclusive events. Welcome, Bobbie. I'm so happy you're here today.
Thank you for having me.
So in getting started, let me ask you, do you experience getting older? And if you do, what is that experience? And if you don't, why is it that you think that you don't?
Oh my goodness, what a great question. I think I absolutely experience getting older. I think we all have to. It reminds me a little bit of the joke I often make around my birthday. Birthdays, better than the alternative.
Absolutely.
We stop having birthdays, it stops being fun. But I absolutely, I think everybody experiences getting older. You look back at a longer and longer period of time and you're like, hey, I used to be 50 and then all of a sudden I'm not anymore. But everything's a little slower, a little faster in some ways. I think a lot of people think about aging and they think about it in a very negative sense, but I also think about it as a way we've gained experience.
Yeah, it's interesting, Bobbie, because I have asked that question to literally hundreds of women. And most women will say, yeah, I mean, I experienced physically, I experienced getting older. But other than that, I really feel better. I feel more me. I feel more able to do whatever I want to do. I feel more able to say whatever I want to say. Things are better. So it's interesting. I think we do, if we allow ourselves to see how much we're gaining by getting older, it's a revealing thing.
Absolutely gained a lot of experience and a lot of more, I'd say, comfort with my knowledge and, comfortable in my skin.
Right. Yep. I think a lot of women will agree with you on that. So, how did you get started in Innovation Women, which is a wonderful organization?
Thank you. I'm really happy to hear you say that. It's very near and dear to my heart. Um, my background is my day job. I run a PR and marketing firm. For many years, I ran an event in Boston called Innovation Nights, which was a startup event. I have a lot of background in terms of getting other people on stage at conferences and events, but running innovation nights, I got invited to a lot of events, and I would watch what I call the male, pale, and stale panels. Same four old white guys over and over again on stage and say, where are the women? Why are there not more women on stage? Two-thirds of all conference speakers are men, and it leaves women out of so many business and career opportunities. So I had a little time in my hands in 2014, and I crowdfunded the money to hire a developer to create the initial Innovation Women platform. And as they say, the rest is history.
This is probably an incredibly naive question given our society, but why is it that there are so many more men speakers than women speakers?
Oh, there are real systemic reasons. Number one, women are more likely to work for smaller companies. Number two, women are likely to work part-time. Number three, women are still more likely to be responsible for kids and home. Number four, women are still not as prevalent at the top of the pile, the C-suite, the board seats, the more visible seats. And so you have two different things here. The first set of reasons are reasons why women turn down opportunities. It's hard to get away when, you can't be the morning keynote if you have to put little Johnny on the bus at 8 a.m. And if you are only working part-time, can you get away for 2 or 3 days that it would take to travel to a conference, speak, and then travel back? You're basically taking yourself out of the mix at work for an entire week if you only work 3 days a week. And if you work for a smaller company, they aren't able to backfill as easily, and they might not have the resources to pay to send you to a conference to speak. And let's face it, half of all event managers have no budget whatsoever for speakers. So often you are getting yourself to a conference on your own dime. So all kinds of systemic reasons about why there aren't as many women on stage, and they just don't receive the same invitations that men do, often because the men are in these very visible places. If you look at the top Fortune 500, the number of women CEOs is very small. So if you were a conference that said, hey, I'm going to put together a panel of CEOs from Fortune 500 companies, you have a very small chance of getting a woman in that panel.
Right. So a lot of it is systemic, and it must also still, is this true? Is it still the case that women aren't seen, as a huge generalization, as authoritative as men? So if I have a big conference and want a really believable, impactful speaker, I will tend to think male rather than female. Is that true or not?
Well, I think it's not necessarily authoritative. I think it is the butts in seats conversation. So if you are an event manager, your job is to sell tickets, to put butts in seats. And often we do that by bringing in speakers that people know. If nobody knows the speaker, you don't have as much of a reason to buy a ticket. So a lot of times the same speakers will show up over and over and over again. I say speaking begets speaking. The more speaking you do, the more speaking you will do, and the more of a household name you become. Another thing that event managers look for is recognizable names in companies. So if women are working for those smaller companies, they're not working as often for the Googles, the IBMs, the Microsofts, a big recognizable company name that would help sell tickets. I once talked to an event manager who said that he could sell more tickets if he had an intern from Google than if it was the CEO of an unknown company.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. So, how many talking about people in organizations being asked to speak? Are there more? Oh, I don't know how to ask this question. Are there more speakers at big conferences who are inside organizations or who are professional entrepreneurial speakers?
Um, trying to figure out if I'm parsing and understanding the question correctly. Are you talking about professional speakers or solopreneurs?
I'm talking
Or
about professional speakers, people who don't have other jobs. Their
got it.
profession is speaking.
Yep. And I do think there is a smaller percentage of people who make a living as a speaker versus people who are what we call subject matter experts, who may have a different business model for speaking. For example, they might be speaking because their employer sends them to a conference, or they might be speaking for the visibility for their own company. They might not necessarily be paid for that time on stage. Half of all event managers have zero budget for speakers. 42% only pay some speakers. They might have money for the keynote, they might have money for the people doing a workshop, but all of the other speakers at that event are probably not being compensated. And if you're doing the math with me, that means 8% of event managers pay all or most of their speakers. So, what that tells me is there's a huge predominance of subject matter experts who do speaking as a path to something else. And I frankly think that makes sense as a model. I want to have those opportunities for women who are just getting started. I want them to be able to get comfortable on stage, to develop their voice, to develop their message before they start going out there and competing for paid speaking engagements. There are a lot of people who are very my way or the highway, who are like, I will never speak unless I'm paid. Well, that's great, but you might not actually develop enough as a speaker to get paid. So I feel like these non compensated directly or not compensated by the organizer speaking engagements are an important part of the development, like the farm team.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I'm a very beginning speaker,
Mhm.
and I've done very little speaking, but I want to, but I'm really scared. And I want to do it, but I'm so scared. Can you help me?
Yes. Yes, I can. And I have a couple of little tips that I give people. Number one, the next time you go to a conference and the speaker on stage completes their presentation and says, are there any questions? I want you to raise your hand. Okay. I want you to raise your hand. I want you to introduce yourself. I want you to stand up. And I want you to ask an intelligent, well thought out question that will reveal something for everybody in the audience. Don't be self serving about this, in other words. Okay. You are now a public speaker. You spoke to the exact same audience that the speaker on stage spoke to. It is a fantastic way to dip your toe in the water of public speaking. And oh, by the way, no application required, no presentation required. You are getting the experience of standing up in front of other people. Keep doing that. Get that practice. You will start to feel more comfortable with the idea of being a speaker. Also, just a little side note, you have just become that speaker on stage's best friend because there is nothing that a speaker hates more than asking for questions and getting crickets. Like it just kills you. You are dying inside. Nobody cared enough to ask a question. So that speaker on stage is like, oh, thank God somebody asked a question.
Oh, that's so true. I never thought of that. I don't know how many times I've been in somewhere or another and asked if there are any questions, and there's this dead silence.
Oh,
Then some blessed soul will stand up and ask a question. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
yes. I usually actually spend time making sure that there are questions. So there are ways as a speaker that you can do that. Number one, get there early, talk to people before they get seated, before you get started, and ask them what their questions are. Then pick out somebody, or maybe more than one somebody, and say, that's a great question. When I ask for questions, will you ask that one? So you're priming somebody to ask a question. Also, when I do presentations on public speaking, a lot of times I get asked the question about how do I get started? Or people want to know, how do I get started? And I go through the whole process of asking a question as a first step. All I'm really doing is priming the audience to ask me a question because I can't stand the thought of not getting a question. So I'm setting them up.
So if I am a complete newbie
Mhm.
and I have now listened to you and I've gone to a couple conferences and I've stood up and I've asked a question and
Sure.
I'm not as scared as I was because I didn't make fool of myself either of those times. What should I do next?
You should figure out what you want to talk about. That's the next step. And a lot of times people look very inward. They say, what do I know? And that's a good first step in terms of determining what you're going to talk about. But I want to take it a couple steps more. I want you to think about the things that you know. I want you to think about the things that get you excited. What are you passionate about? Like, I'm obviously passionate about public speaking, so I can talk passionately about public speaking. The next thing is to think about, what do I want to be known for? Like, and keep that focus. Say, I want to be known for public speaking. And you're going to keep talking about public speaking. And you're going to write articles about public speaking. And you're going to post on social media about public speaking. You're going to develop a focus. There's another part to this, though. I want you to ask members of your potential audience, what do they need? Far too often, we think about public speaking as me pushing information out to an audience. If you think instead of public speaking as a service that you are performing for an audience, your presentation will be received so much better if you can answer people's questions, if you can solve their problems, if you can solve their pain. So those things are all going to help you figure out what you're going to talk about. That's your next step.
So you see this, you see people speaking and getting booked and not getting booked and on all the time. Is it possible to say what some of the most popular topics are now, or is that just too big a field?
I I mean, we have something like 80,000 different search terms that have been used on Innovation Women, and they range from, the incredibly generic leadership, sales, marketing to very, very detailed. I need somebody to come in and talk about objection handling in a SaaS company. Like, good Lord. Okay. That's very specific. Right now, as you might guess, the trends are toward people looking for speakers on topics like artificial intelligence, It isn't the number one topic. It's actually splitting the vote between artificial intelligence and AI, or it probably would be the number one topic. But we're also seeing a lot of people searching on relatively generic terms like leadership, like sales, like digital marketing, cybersecurity. We also have people coming in and using more identity search terms. They're looking for things like female founders. Obviously, we're a database of primarily women speakers, so that makes sense. So, those are just some of the search terms that we're seeing right now. I will
Interesting.
tell you, there's a little kind of side conversation on this. Obviously, the current political climate is interesting, but I would say that the diversity, equity, and inclusion type topics literally started to kind of fall off in 2023. Midway through the year, we saw a lessening of diversity, equity, inclusion. It used to be some combination of those key terms were almost always in our top 10 from about 2020 on. So we spend a lot of time looking at the search terms and the trends with those search terms on the platform. We have a lot of information about that.
So in all of the DE&I stuff, is ageism ever mentioned?
Yep, 100%.
Is it?
Yeah, we had a conference on aging at one point that skewed my data for a good month. I was like, why are we all of a sudden getting all these aging conversations and key terms? Oh, there's a conference that is literally using innovation women that came in and made something like 80 searches.
Love it.
Like, you're skewing my data. Stop it.
So is there any difference? Have you noticed any difference in the success of getting booked from older women and younger women?
So it's very interesting that you asked that topic because recently we did some surveys among the innovation women population. And one of the questions I asked for demographic purposes was give me your age range. And I was very surprised that our average age of our speaker, now averages are, a fraught way of looking at things, but the average age was 58.
Oh, I'm so surprised.
I was too. We have a large number of our members that are using speaking as their second act. We have a large number of our speakers that are using it as their retirement, either hobby or second job. I was really surprised that we had such a older population.
I am really surprised too. If I had guessed when you said that, I would have guessed, oh, I don't know, 40, 45.
Yep, I would have too. This is actually coming back to something I talk to people a lot about, which is getting started with public speaking earlier. I think a lot of people say, oh, I'm not going to get on stage until I'm in the C-suite, or I'm not going to get on stage unless I'm a director. But really, there are speaking opportunities at all ages, at all stages. One of the first panels that we helped put together out of our platform was a panel of young women who were talking about how they got their first job. Two of them were still in their first job, and two of them had never been on a stage before, and they were talking to an audience of college students, and they were closer to that college student age than I certainly am. But it was really interesting to see people participate in a panel, people going in and talking about the experiences they had as experts to an audience that hadn't yet had that experience in life. So I do think people start far later than they should.
Well, and as you said earlier, I mean, there's all sorts of ways of, quote, doing public speaking. You don't necessarily have to be up on a stage with a microphone and a big audience to call yourself public speaking.
Yep. Very true. Podcasting, you could be part of a panel discussion. You could be doing workshops. You could be a co-presenter. You could be an MC or moderator. A lot of people think very narrowly about public speaking. It's, one person on stage by themselves. And, panels like are a great example. Like you can be on stage just having a conversation with your peers. You're seated in the comfy seats. You don't have to worry about a big presentation. It's awesome.
It's also neat if there are people on the panel with you who are more well known than you are.
Yes, you get that borrowed fame.
Right. So, Bobbie, I think that what you do, clearly you're passionate about. There's no question about that. That's really wonderful. But of all the things that you're doing or have done, what gives or has given you the most satisfaction?
I have to admit that one thing that we do every week is, I think, one of the best things that I've done. Speaker Friend Friday. Speaker Friend Friday is awesome. Every Friday morning, I hop on Zoom and I am joined by 60, 70, 80 of my nearest and dearest speaker friends. And we talk very openly about the challenges of looking for speaking opportunities, of building a speaking business, of building a speaking career. And we share ideas and we network and we work together. Public speaking tends to be a rather secretive industry. I think people are not comfortable sharing sometimes. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me. I've worked in a lot of industries, and public speaking is among the most secretive industries. And we've kind of just abolished that with speaker friends. And we are very clear, you're here to share and support. So if you're going to gatekeep, why bother? So these are people that are very open to sharing what they have learned and who are looking for more knowledge.
Isn't that interesting? It's an example. I think it's an example of a scarcity mindset rather than
Yeah.
abundance mindset. It's a mindset if you get that speaking engagement, that means I don't, which is crazy. I mean, it may not be number one, there's enough speaking engagements to go around. And number two, it may not have been something you should have been speaking at.
Yeah. And very rarely is a speaker going to be invited back. They want a new speaker next year. They want a new speaker next month. Why wouldn't you share that information? So
Great.
I agree with you. I do think that there is a scarcity mindset amongst speakers. And, if you are a woman, probably even more of a scarcity mindset because you're only representing a third of the speakers on stage.
True. And I don't, is this true that I think that Speaker Friends is a wonderful, wonderful thing because there are a lot of professions where you actually spend a lot of time with people, but it's still very lonely.
Mm.
And it seems to me speaking is one of those. I mean, if you're speaking a lot, and a lot of people aren't, but if you are, it seems to me there's a lot of solo travel. There's a lot of nights in hotels. There's a lot of time by yourself.
Yeah. And that was actually one of the reasons that we launched our speaker community last year. So our members are able to sign in to Innovation Women and join our online community. And one of the things I've really reveled in is watching people post inside the community. I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. next week. Who wants to get together? A bunch of us are headed for South by Southwest this week, and we're planning an outing to get fried chicken, and we're going to get together for one of our speakers' sessions. And like these are the kinds of things that, as a speaker, you're traveling, you're often a solopreneur. being able to connect with other people is just amazing. We had one of our speakers from the West Coast last month who visited Boston, New Jersey, New York, and Philadelphia on a tour that she was doing. And in every city, she was able to connect with a group of Innovation Women members, and they did in-person get-togethers. There were brunches, there were dinners. She sent me pictures of every single one of them. I'm like, this just makes me so happy.
That is wonderful. That is such a good example of the opposite of what we were just saying. That is
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
Yep. And I think part of it is we branded it. Like you can't gatekeep and you can't be unfriendly if you are a member of Speaker Friends.
True. That is great, Brandy. You're absolutely right.
It's very funny because I kind of use the terminology Speaker Friends for a long time. And the Speaker Friend Friday sessions, as I said, had originally kind of grown out of a networking event that I had done before the pandemic. And for a long time, I kind of, played around with different names for it. It was the Friday morning coffee, it was the Friday morning gathering, the Innovation Women gathering. And then one day I was like, oh my gosh, it's Speaker Friend Fridays. That was so obvious. It was staring me right in the face. And the minute I said it, the minute it came out of my mouth, I was like, that's perfect.
It is
So
perfect. It is perfect. It's just a wonderful example of great branding. I love that.
took me long enough.
Well, it doesn't matter. You got there.
Got there eventually.
So you've done wonderful things, Bobbie. What's next? What are you thinking of that hasn't happened for you yet? What are you
You know,
dreaming about?
I mean, my goal is to get to be 10,000 women on the Innovation Women platform so that no event manager can tell me I couldn't find a woman speaker for my event. We have been working at this now for almost a decade, and we are still seeing these all male panels. We are still seeing speaking slates with a very small number of women. We are still seeing keynote groups where it'll be 19 men are the keynotes for a multi-day conference, and there's one woman. And so, we really have to change that. And it's not just about speaking, it's about pay equity, it's about getting equal funding for women founded companies, it's about how we are perceived as leaders. If you close your eyes and you tell anyone, think about a leader, they are probably going to, almost against their will, envision an older white male because that's what they keep seeing on stage at the front of the room. So we have to kind of change that, and we have to change it one speaker at a time.
That's what strikes me when you say that, Bobbie. When I was in corporate for 1,000 years, and during the initial period with DE&I, didn't call it that at all, but that's what it was. People, I would work with managers and say, but we can't find any. And I thought, well, you're going to the same place to look. You've gone for years and years and years. We've got to go to different places. And so, how do you get event managers to come to you?
um, by helping, my day job is I run a marketing firm. So I kind of feel like I have a little cheat code in terms of marketing to event managers. Part of the promise of Innovation Women is we make their lives easy. There are very few other places that they can search by topic, by industry, by location. They can even search where somebody went to school. If I'm a college or university and I want my own alumni, I might not have in my own database a way to speak or search by speaking topic. So Innovation Women makes it easy. Once you find your speaker, you're able to communicate with them directly. You can send them a message. We don't keep people at arm's length. And you're able to download their headshot, their speaker biography. It's all in one place. And we also promote everything our speakers do. So when they let us know they've got a new speaking engagement, what we're doing is we're promoting that event. So we're
Ah,
rewarding the event managers who use Innovation Women by giving them visibility.
that's fantastic. So
Everybody wins.
everybody wins. Okay, so I want to join Innovation Women. How do I join Innovation Women?
Innovationwomen.com. Quite literally, you just go to the website and click on the join button. So, Innovation Women is a membership organization. Unlike some of the big, scary speaker groups, it's a very reasonable price. It's $159 a year to become a member. And for that, you get a profile on the platform. You get access to our database of speaking engagements. You also get access to literally hundreds of hours of educational material and our Innovation Women community. So there's a lot that goes into this, and we are trying to keep it reasonable and priced so that we get as large a group as possible, because I don't ever want an event manager to say to me, I was looking for a woman speaker and I couldn't find one.
Right. Yes, I understand that. Absolutely. I've heard that so many times in other contexts. Oh, Bobbie, this has been great. We are at our time, but I could imagine people are going to want to get in touch, not only with Innovation Women, but with you. How can they do that?
Literally, innovationwomen.com. That is how they find us.
Okay, great. Thank you. So that is our time today. Thank you for joining us. You can find out more about Prime Spark at primesparkwomen.com. Our Prime Spark podcast is on every popular outlet. Please come and join us and listen again. Thank you so much to my guest, Bobbie Carlton. This was great fun, Bobbie. And don't
Thanks for
forget,
having
you
me.
can find her at innovationwomen.com. Thank you for being with us. Spread tolerance and love. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to stay updated, you can head over to my website, primesparkwomen.com, and get my free Spark Guide, 7 questions to ignite your spark, to help you discover your own spark. See you in the next episode.